Discover the genuine archipelago life. Welcome to the Åland Islands, where you can drive over water, see a house, maybe go paddleboarding. Look, we have yachts, more yachts, and even some flowers that look dead. This is the first proper stream of IFK Mariehamn. Good evening, one and all. I hope everyone is well. It's lovely to see you all here. I'll get a big massive shout out to those that have already been active in the chat. So let's say a massive hello to Adam on the ball. Let's say hello to Zeke and to Levi and to Hank the Tank is in, Loomy, Paradox, Martin Wolf, the man, the legend that is Martin Wolf. Hung Min is here tonight. We have, who else do we have? I know that I'm missing some people. We've got a few. ACAB is in. Good evening, sir. I'm afraid to disappoint you. There is no glorious hair today. You will discover that a lot of days I wear the hat all day long, and by this point, I'm not willing to unleash hat hair on the world. Got no game. Brilliant to see you as well. How are you this fine evening? Severy as well. Good evening. Tad is in. Tad asks, is there a beginner tutorial how to change the scheme color of the skin? There is. There's FAQs on every single site where the skin is hosted, and within those FAQs there's a section on changing the color scheme. There's a section on changing just the attribute colors if you want, and a number of other questions answered. So pop on over to FM Scout or to the SI forums or to Sort It Out SI or Football Manager Graphics or Passion 4 FM. Any of those sites where you can get the skin from will have the answers there for you. Sass is in! Talking of skins, the legend that is Sass himself. How are you, my man? I would like to say a thank you as well to Levi Steen for the follow and to Bezen Bolsky. You guys are gentlemen. And Bezen Bolsky comes in with the Prime subscription as well. What a gentleman. I hope you are well this evening. So let's see. We go, who else have we got? RJ is in, the man who saved us in the last moment of the stream by reminding us that we need to sort out the detail level. What a gentleman you are. I hope you're well this evening. Nemo Toad is in. Good evening. Good evening indeed. Marco Man, lovely to see you. First time at chatting, so welcome aboard. I hope you're well. Rick is in, Matto, El Norby, Interpol's here, Andrus and Tarek as well, Stroller, Adam. My word, there were so many people here. Those who were here last night, I also have to say a massive thank you for popping along. I do apologise that I did struggle to keep up with chat last night, and I might well do so again tonight. So if you send a message and I've missed it and it's been a little while, please just feel free to give me a nudge. I want to make sure that I can respond where possible, whilst still progressing with the game in some form. Let's go on and head on over. So where were we? We last night we were just basically going through the setup. We've come up with our manager, and our manager is a championship manager legend, the wonderful, the one and only Mika Aratalo, whose face scan is possibly the scariest, most haunting thing I've ever seen. FM sadly doesn't model hair particularly well, so we have certainly an interesting option for long hair there, but he will be our manager for this save. He is a former IFK Mariehamn striker, so it only felt... No, he's not. He's just a legend of Finnish football, I think, is what we ended up with. So we are at IFK Mariehamn. They are a reasonably small club on the Åland Islands. Now, the Åland Islands are located off the mainland of Finland, because islands tend to be off the mainland. That's what makes them islands. It's an autonomous region of something like 4,000 islands, of which about 3 of them are habitable. Mariehamn are there in the main island in the capital city. They were formed 125 years ago. And in that 125 years, they have only been in the top division since 2005. 7 years ago, 8, it'll be 8 years ago in game. They won the league for the first time ever, and it's all been a little bit downhill from there. They are still in the top division, but we are expected to struggle. I believe we've got a major prediction here of 9th in a 12-team league. So yesterday we had a look through the squad, and I've just updated the screen here so that we could kind of have a snapshot summary of the players' strengths. So we've got their main strength, their main weakness, and their star rating, as well as their player style here, so that as we get familiar with them over pre-season, we're not going to have any performance data that we can drill into anyway. So this allows us to get a high level overview at this point. We've whilst you've been away, just before this stream, I went through and set up the staff responsibilities. So almost everything has been handed out. We will leave our technical director that the club already has to sort out most of the staffing. I'm in charge of the director of football, technical director, and loan manager. Loan manager because I don't want to hire one anyway. It seems like a waste of money. Director of football and technical director because obviously I don't want them hiring and firing one another. And we've got the transfer responsibilities, but otherwise media we're going to pass out. We're going to give training responsibility out, the main training anyway. But we will be leading individual training, and then the tactics will be our realm and match day. Set pieces we've handed over. We don't have a set piece coach. We're not allowed a set piece coach, which is understandable. I can't imagine they're the hottest property of the day in Finnish football. Right, let me catch up again a little bit there. So, Mark's happy to be here. RG, yep, thank you. Tad, I meant a video tutorial. I read a few comments. I mean, no, there isn't a video tutorial on specifically changing the color scheme. It's basically the video would be those words. It would be go to those lines, change those numbers. As much as I'd love to throw out as many videos into the world as I possibly can, it does feel like it'll be a little bit redundant. I can't add anything more to that, I'm afraid. I'd pop it on slow-mo just in case, pal. That's a good thought. I don't know how to do that with this. I've got this joint chat window for both YouTube and Twitch, and I'm a bit of a Luddite, so that might be something I'll have to research after the stream. Scary Mika indeed. So, Bezembolski, love your stuff on YouTube, would only be fair to sub. I appreciate it so much. You are an absolute gentleman.
Hongdamin says Mika can scare opponents. He most definitely can. Emir is asking, how is the finances projection looking for you right now? So as we've only started, it's kind of okay. We have 106k in the bank. We've got a wage budget of 10k, and we've got about 230 euros of that left. The first transfer window is disabled. If we look at the projection, they do expect us to be losing money by the end of the season, which is fine. We expect at this level that we're going to have to stay afloat through development and player sales. Let's talk a little bit about the league, because then we can talk about prize money as well, which will link in. Yeah, so if we pop to the rules, if I can click on the right bit, we can see that there is no prize money handed out, which is a significant thing in terms of how we're going to deal with the need to constantly have that conveyor belt of talent to keep us afloat. But that's the same problem for all of Finland. Getting into Europe is going to be huge for being able to generate that revenue. This is a 12-team league, as mentioned. So we play every team twice, and then the league splits into two, with the top 6 are in a championship group, the bottom 6 are in a relegation group. Bizarrely though, the bottom team gets relegated. That's reasonably normal. The team in 11th goes into a championship playoff with the team from the division below to see who gets that final spot to stay. The team that tops the relegation group goes into a European places playoff quarter-final. So this, even if you're in the bottom half of the table, you've got a slight chance of getting into the Conference League, which is crazy. It's cool. It's also a little bit crazy. I do need to check. Do you carry on your points from the previous one? So does it say anything here? I know some leagues, I think like Belgium, when the groups split, they like half the point tally for what seems to be absolutely no reason whatsoever. It doesn't look like they do that here, which is cool though. So we've got otherwise a relatively normal league that splits into two, like we've had with Greece with the Pauk save. So we're kind of familiar with that. But it also means it's a nice short season, 27 games in total. In the league, that is. Before that, we have the League Cup, which is, again, split into two groups. Split into groups of 6. And then let's do that. We go through the top 2, go into a semi-final, then into a final. So that should be something nice, maybe nice and early. We should be able to get a feel for where we're at competitively before we have to go into the league season, which is quite cool. And so yeah, we went through the squad yesterday, and we had a little bit of a think about tactics, which is a bit out there. So this isn't the tactic, but it also is the tactic. This is essentially just a shell for us to start working from, and then during the course of preseason and perhaps the League Cup, we're going to be making those changes, and it's going to eventually resemble something far, far more normal and boring, I'm afraid. In fact, it's going to look a little bit more boring before we even start, because I've now been racked with guilt and concern and worry and fear, because that's what time does. Now, I think we're probably going to actually change this to a more, a slightly more conventional 3-2-5 shape. So one of the challenges we've noticed last night is that we don't really have any attacking fullbacks. Our fullback here, Jiri Nissanen, is probably our best fullback. He's got a decent physical profile. He can do the defending things. He can do bugger all going forwards. And then we have Daniel Enquist, who's kind of got an okay physical profile and can do bugger all of anything else. And then we've got Eero Matti Alvanen, who can kind of do things, but none of the things that are really that important for us. Like, he can concentrate, he's got good positioning and marking, but he doesn't go for the ball, he can't tackle, he can't head, he's slow, he's easily knocked off the ball, he's absolutely useless when it comes to possession attributes and attacking. So realistically, I think we're going to try and veer as far away from having fullbacks as much as we possibly can. But there is one other discovery that I should probably talk about. And let me just catch up again a little bit on chat there. So, Vangelis is in. Another good evening. How are you? Matto, a palm. Yes, we're talking about Mikel Artalo just staring down opponents. I think it would work. I think it would definitely work. Crodmo's in. Good evening, sire. How are you? Paying someone to prepare corners is for the rich. It is indeed. But we do have a man that we are essentially paying to do that. The assistant manager, we basically pay him to do everything we don't want to do, and I think that's fair. You know, he's on a pretty healthy €650 per week. And Daniel Sherlin, for those for Liverpool fans that might be in the chat, and for Mariehamn fans who might be in the chat, he is a little bit of a legend himself. He is back home, born in Mariehamn, played for Mariehamn, and now assistant manager at the club, which is quite nice. His brother is also a member of staff, I think. Yeah, so his brother is our only scout. We've hidden all staff attributes and no idea how good or bad he is. He's off tackles. Sin, he heard a rumour of you pressing continue in this stream. Can't believe it. Well, we've done a pretty good job so far. We're 15 minutes in and we still haven't quite done it yet. Good evening, fellow Finns. Dr. Soccer, how are you, sir? Thank you very much for the follow earlier. And I do need to say thank you, Bored Sausage, Kenny Bodie, Boss07, Johnny Trotter, and Hillfart. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but thank you for the follow, my man. So I actually have the tutorial on my video. I suppose I do, yeah. I mean, there is that would be what the video would be if I was to do a standalone. Literally that 40 seconds. Give it a like, guys. 46 are watching with only Tarek, you, the hype man I need. Thank you very much. Yeah, obviously, you guys over on YouTube, I would absolutely love it if you can hit that like button and make sure that we can kind of spread it out there. Consider subscribing as well if you haven't. It'd be very much appreciated. But zero obligation. No obligation to chat. No obligation to engage whatsoever. You do whatever you like to do. Let's have a look there. It's the same in Belgium with the playoff system. Yeah, you can end 12th in regular season and have a chance to be in Europa League. I didn't realise that. It was the same also with the Europe. That's quite cool. Dion Basis is in. Good evening, sir. How are you doing? And Amin, are you following the modern tactical trend with the 3-2-5 or because lack of fullbacks? So, yeah, I mean, it's a combination of the two. And Triple M is in. Good evening, sir. How are you, my man? So, essentially, what I'm looking at is the fact that our best players are our attacking options. So, we have, let's pop through here. Dahlstrom is a deeper player. He's somebody who might potentially be a playmaker at this level in the league, which would be really, really cool. We're going to have him potentially in that spot deep and being able to ping balls long, hopefully. But otherwise, our best players are Robin Sid, who is pretty well rounded. He's got good flair, he's got good vision, he's got good first touch and dribbling. Someone we can definitely feature. Then we've got Adam Larsson, who in real life finished third top scorer in the Finnish league. The Finnish league finished just under a month ago. So he's a pretty good player. He's a poacher, allegedly. I think we could also use him as an advanced forward or maybe even as a pressing forward with his good work rate, determination and teamwork. Jaden Reed, I think, looks like one of our better players as well. His first touch is a little bit questionable. His movement is a little bit questionable. But the former Birmingham kid is a pretty good, solid, all-round player. Able to dribble, good anticipation, good decisions, good passing. He's also able to do some of the defensive things as well. He apparently prefers to be central, but because of that first touch, I'd probably prefer him out wide. And then we've got Olawale. So Olawale is he's got better movement than Reed, but he's Reed, but just a little bit worse. All our attacking players seem to be right-footed, which is a little bit of a concern. And so those four players are kind of the players we're likely to be building around. We don't have fullbacks. Our defensive midfielders, I think our best defensive midfielder is probably Mikel Funsell. and he's not particularly good. He's really slow. He's got no agility. I don't mind his work rate, decision making is great. His defensive attributes are pretty decent as well. Passing and first touch, they're fine, but everything else is just really, really lacking. Now, one thing as we've looked through these, you might notice, and especially with someone like Mikkel van Sel, is that he's only 20 years old, and this team is quite young. Because when I checked things before we started up the screen, I happened to notice that there's 0 players in the development centre. That's because we have no reserve team. Well, we have a reserve team, we have no players. And we have no under-20s either. So when we talk about this conveyor belt of talent, we do have a slight drawback in that there is no talent to begin with should we need to replace them. So yeah, I think that the 3-2-5 shape, it's here at the moment. This is literally just going to be the base. We're going to see if we can get the interchanges we want, and then like in the next friendly, we will probably look at dropping players back and moving players around and seeing how we can get things to be a little bit more balanced and appropriate for the season. We have no stylistic drivers. We aren't playing a specific way. We will be adaptive over the course of the save, but we're also quite open to seeing what the save tells us. So if we play and we notice that we are going to be that our players work best in particular situations, we will try our best to work around that rather than forcing anything at all. So hi Musterman, hope you're good. Yep, so I said hello to Triple Mahadzin. Fantastic, lovely to see you here. I am excited for this save too. I'm so glad it won. Reckon Troy Deeney would be the worst father-in-law. He would bang on about how he'd be as good as Pele. That's a very good call, Dodgy Rolex. So yeah, you can see I've put a question of the day in there. I learnt today, and I think it's probably because it's on like the BBC website or something. It's not like I discovered this, but Taylor Harwood-Bellis, the Southampton defender who's just been called up to the England squad, is engaged to Roy Keane's daughter. And that's got me thinking, is Roy Keane the worst possible father-in-law? Now, Troy Deeney has probably already beaten that, so I will defer and say Roy Keane is not the worst father-in-law. Troy Deeney is currently winning that battle, but I would love to know who you guys think would make the worst father. Which former footballer would make the worst father-in-law? Andrus, finance projections are sort of a useless feature in my opinion. They are indeed. You've got to. They are kind of useful in situations like this, kind of, because there isn't a prize fund. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Yeah, because there isn't a prize fund involved, it is kind of a little bit more accurate. But once you start dealing with different clauses and how contracts are structured, it can get confused and jilted a little bit quickly. I like Dahlstrom profile. I think he's going to be the key player this year. And I do indeed. So he is. The game agrees with you. I agree with you as well. I think he's a cracking player. He looks like he's got everything all round. It's a bit of a shame that his off the ball is low, and that's probably what we're going to focus on. See if we can get him to be a player that I'd be happier to like roam around a little bit more and perhaps push into those forward areas. As I imagine the defensive side of things is going to be where our transfer efforts will be focused once that window opens, which, well, not the first window, but the second one. That's something we should actually check. So let's have a look here. Do we have the transfer window? So the first transfer window is 16th of November to 9th of August. Free transfers window. Right, okay, sorry. So we've got a transfer window from the 17th of January to the 10th of April. That is the one that I assume will be closed. Then we have another window from the 10th of July to the 9th of August. That's when we will hopefully be able to make our moves. That also gives us plenty of time to build up that pool of players that we can look through, so we can hopefully find some absolute bargains in there. I think John Terry would be a bad father-in-law. Do you... Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Steven Gerrard as well. You know that when Gerrard doesn't get his way, he likes to punch people, so he'd be a pretty bad choice out there too. Selek is in. Good evening. How are you, my man? No fullbacks, no DMs. Man United, is that you? Man United slander. I love it. Chili Con Carnag 3, the third of the Chili Con Carnags. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much for the follow, sir. Right, the conveyor has been built. There's just no products to use it for. Indeed, exactly that. Ryan Giggsworth's father-in-law. He's certainly not a family man, is he? Let's be fair. Depends if he's allowed to tackle at the wedding. I don't want to think about Roy Keane tackling. No, I got that joke wrong. Roy Keane's tackle is what I meant to say. I'm so good at jokes, eh? Reggae boy Joey Barton would be the worst. That's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. He is the kind of person to put cigars out in people's eyes, so yeah. I can't decide if Mourinho being my father-in-law would be the best or worst thing ever. I imagine it would be pretty obnoxious. I think it would be very, very annoying to have to deal with his ego, to be completely frank. Is Sebastian Dahlstrom Captain Material? He most definitely is. So, for those who were along for the AC Moneyball series, you will know that I like to make at least one staff recommendation per meeting. You know, they're employed for a reason, so we might as well make use of them. But otherwise, we're probably just going to skip through most of these things. Things like individual training, we'll assess that kind of towards the end of pre-season. So Joey Barton worse, yep, okay, we've got another one for Joey Barton. Nile Ranger was, yeah, I think that is a very, very fair shout indeed. That's some really short Mercato, not even a month indeed. Eric Cantona, I mean, I think he'd be quite fun. He'd come up with his weird inspirational quotes and then karate kick you in the face. I mean, you've got to love the unpredictability of it all. A Gattuso would top the list. There's a fair shout. Sorry, missed a bit of the convo. Has Jamie Carragher mentioned yet? I'm going to. Why do you think Jamie Carragher would be a bad father-in-law? Has he done something that I can't think of? Oh God, no! Jesus Christ, Paul Scholes would be the worst father-in-law. He'll be like, you'd be there. It'd be your wedding night. You're about to do the post-nuptial act, and there Paul Scholes would turn up sucking on his daughter's toes. Ugh. Vinnie Jones, the man's just scary. Vinnie Jones is a good shout as well. I wouldn't want to. I'd probably try and avoid talking to him at all. I'd take Deeney over Keane, to be honest, but that might just be because I'm an Ipswich fan. Charles, I have to say, I do feel that there might be a teeny bit of bias in there. True. Chili, hey man, first time catching a stream, came across your stuff via Clates. Just wanted to say your skin is an absolute game changer. As someone with ADHD, the normal FM skin is overwhelming and the numbers for attributes just become a number. You've generally changed FM for me, my guy. That's wonderful here. I'm so glad that it's been able to help. I would also, as you're getting exposed to the world of attributeless, I'd also massively recommend a skin called Star Attribute, which is basically just the base skin, but with the attributes replaced with stars. Same thing that happens attribute-wise, but because it's just the base skin, it's quite sparse. I mean, mine is quite sparse too, but there isn't as much overwhelming with information. I think it's done really, really nicely, and I think it has a lovely, lovely balance in there. He's awful. He'd spit at your children. Oh yes, I forgot about the spitting. Yes, indeed. My daughter is a special one. You are a specialist in failure. Yeah, that would be a Mourinho-esque approach to take for sure. Imagine asking for an ice cream and getting that in return. Alexi Lalas would be awful. I am quite amazed that Alexi Lalas has been, and it's not by Brazilian Fury. But I mean, I think it's a shared sentiment in America. To be fair, Matt Letitia and his conspiracies would probably be pretty awful as well. I believe that does his daughter do like OnlyFans or something? Yeah, so I have a feeling that the family dynamic there is certainly a little bit weird. Like competitive and avoid relegation. Let's do this. We're good enough to avoid relegation. And they don't even ask me about the cup, so that's cool. Okay, has Paul Gascoigne shouted yet? He hasn't. He hasn't, Timper. That's a great shout. And I love Paul Scholes, but I agree is an absolute wrong-un, indeed. Zlatan as father-in-law should be exhausting too, to be honest. Yeah, that's like the Marino shout. Just the ego. It would be your wedding day, but the whole event would be about him. No, we have a good wage budget. I'm quite happy with that. Imagine Arteta as a father-in-law. He'd do all that exciting stuff like pretending to steal your wallet to make sure you're always on guard. What a quirky twat. Sorry, I should be much politer. By the way, Jack Romeo, Honningsvin, sorry, I apologise, and Stifler's mum, thank you very much for the follow. I really like their philosophy. Yes, I believe we can do okay. Paul Scholes only if you're into feet. Exactly. Let's have a look there. I feel like I missed a chat, or I saw one that I wasn't. Oh no, actually, it was just the next one. So please explain the tactic you're using. So Mark Wanderer, there is very little to explain. This is what we're going to use in the very first game, but we have basically nothing selected. We're going to just see what happens during the game and start to adjust as we go along. There is basically no tactic right now. Alex Ferguson, just think of the hairdryer treatment if he thinks you mess something up. That's true, that's true. Right, so as requested, how would you like to split the players between the two teams? I would like first 11 against second 11. We can move players across, can we? Confirm squads, manage first team only. There we go. That's cool. Alex Ferguson, yeah, we had that. Joey Barton has to be a major contender. Joey Barton has come up a number of times now. I think he has won this, to be fair. Certainly, let's have a look. I'm American. Yes, sorry, I did realise that, Hank. Indeed. Alexa says an embarrassment to Americans. I think that's a fair shout. Luke Chadwick would be the worst. Imagine what his daughter would look like. Look, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I am not going to say anything mean about Luke Chadwick's appearance. It is what it is. You know, sometimes that's the hand you're dealt. So we're going into this game. It is against our second team. I expected us to have a second team for this to be kind of worthwhile. Hopefully we can get away with using vertical scrolling because the grounds will be too small to have floodlights that get in the way. Just going to move the speed down so we can see what's going on. And I like TV for that. So here we go. And we're going to basically see what happens and then try and react accordingly. Jack Romeo, hi, saw your PvP video. Wonder why are you not good at PvP? So I will, can I do this? What was the command? I'm not 100% certain whether I've got the right... no, that might not actually be the right link. But on my YouTube, I've explained the approach that I'm taking. We are actively ignoring the meta. Unfortunately, from what I've been able to see of the VODs of all the other players, everybody else is quite actively engaging in the meta. And that makes it a massive, massive challenge. But that's what we're here to do, is we want to have some fun. We want to do things a little bit differently, because if everyone plays the meta, then the best squads just win. So it's going to be interesting. We've got essentially 38 games to see if we can find a way to make ourselves competitive without having to resort to the same tried and true tactics, which should be, I think, would be quite fun. Other people might not agree. Charlie MCFC, thank you so much for the subscription. So much appreciated. Thank you kindly. Neville would be boring as hell every time you meet him. Boring is good. I'd prefer a father-in-law who is boring and I can kind of ignore. It's a good save from our greyed out reserve goalkeeper there. I thought Alexi Lalas was Xena Warrior Princess. Indeed. Because he's going around as limiting himself. Indeed, AECAP, yeah. So, as I said, we're doing PvP. We're content creators. We're meant to be entertainers, right? You don't want us to be boring. Granted, I am. This voice is quite boring, but I've got to make up for it somehow. Otherwise, don't be unkind to yourself. Your daughter would have a fine beard. My daughter would have the best beard. That is true. Manor and Met pits in. Good evening, sir. How are you? Where did you find players to play against? There's no one in the reserves. It looks like they've just filled it out with grey players, so that's fine. We're not going to learn quite as much from this game as I was hoping. I was hoping we might be able to find a player with some... Oh, not a bad shot from Sid there. Surprise, Sigurdsson has not been mentioned yet. Complete nightmare. Yeah, maybe the less said, the better. Todd Burley about to storm into your locker room. Oh, you wait, Nemo Toad. We've already played quite a few games more, so I know what's in store. But the next game against Southampton, I think, is going to be a really, really, really good one to watch. Absolute cracking game, that. The Everton fan doesn't want to comment on Sigurdsson either. That's fair. You have 3 days till the first Liga Cup match, so I suppose you can squeeze in a few more friendlies. Well, as far as I'm concerned, 33 days. Yes, we certainly can fit in some friendlies. So I thought we'll get on with this, and then we'll start doing all the other planning. Not really much major that we've seen. We've been able to get some chances, which is nice. We've got Olawale. It's interesting the players that they suggested to be up front. So we've got Olawale playing alongside Larson, and they have got chances. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sid, even if his shooting's not been great. He's certainly been quite active on the ball, which is quite cool, and we can see him flooding forward there. Pass isn't coming though. That was a bit disappointing from Olawale there. Jimmy Bullard would be a nutter of a father-in-law. He would indeed. Is he one of those again that might be just a little bit too? He wants to be a bit too cheeky, a little bit too quirky. He'd get annoying quite quickly, wouldn't he? Here we go. Can we concede immediately to our reserves, our non-real reserves, or can we counter-attack with some interesting Dahlstrom out on the right wing? Not a position I would have chosen to put him, but here he is. Not quite opening the scoring. In fact, because this isn't a proper team, let's pop that down to extender. We can still pick up some things on there. So it's not that he's moving to the right wing. He is on the right wing. Patoot. Emmanuel Patoot might become one of our favourites as well, largely because with a name like that's so close to Emmanuel Petit, you've kind of got to love him there. Just 1 second. There we go. That is working cool. Manu Patu, exactly. Dahlstrom at the back post. He's got, that's what? So at 1.3 expected assists already. That can't be right. That can't be right. Is he taking corners as well? Because he set up that Olawale chance, which was a 0.9 XG. Sid, lucky deflection. So yeah, I'm really encouraged by Sid's movement. I think that we are going to be playing Sid either in the hole or out left to where he can cut inside from. Probably mostly in the hole because he's Olawale, Jaden Reed. I don't feel they can play as much centrally. But it is good to see that we've got some nice movement coming out from these players and we're creating chances, even if it is against greyed out players. Hello, Walid. How are you this evening, sir? Does anyone know the camera settings, asks Mims. I do indeed. So it's vertical scrolling, minimal height, highest zoom. This is my preferred camera settings that we do for everything. The only problem we can have is sometimes some stadiums have floodlights that get in the way of the view once it gets close to goal. So if that was a situation with our home stadium, we'd probably go to TV. And Dahlstrom, in off the underside of the bar, the things we like to see. Dill, good evening, sir. How are you? How are you, my man? Now, I have caught up with chat, which is an amazing thing that I never thought would happen. So that means I can do this. Please do go out and head on out and follow Dill if you aren't already. There is... I was explaining this to someone on Discord the other day that when it comes to creators in the FM world, there's a lot of things that are very similar. There isn't much variety that you can have with FM as a game. Even though there's different play styles, the presentation approach is really, really tricky. Dill, however, is one of the most excellent when it comes to exploring the world, seeing what goes on, and not just within his team, but in the surrounding areas, and really like making the place feel real and bringing out those stories. Just absolutely incredible stuff. So you really, really should go and follow him if you're not already. Mim, thank you. Yeah, that's cool. Dill, hope the preseason is going well. It's started. That we can say for sure. This is our first game. It's a friendly against our reserves. But it turns out we don't have any reserves. So it's a friendly against greyed out players. But we've got this a little bit. Larson should have put that away, really. We've got this in possession shape as our base at the moment. What we're looking to see is how we do with holding the width with Reed on the right, how we do with Sid cutting in, with Dahlstrom on the right, how we're doing with Sid cutting in from the left, what that does in terms of us lacking width on that left-hand side, how we're interacting with our two strikers as well. Dahlstrom has been amazing. I've earmarked him as being like our deep-lying playmaker, but he's really, really running the show out on the right as a wing on support, which is something I didn't expect as we come close to running third, but again tipped over. JHK's in. Good evening, sir. How are you? Todd Burley will probably storm the locker room here too. Not enough players for his liking. There is not enough players. So one of the big concerns about potentially playing with a back three is that we only have 3 centre backs. We have like 3 20-year-old defensive midfielders who can play at centre back, but they're not centre back quality. But the other problem is we have no fullbacks. We've got one player who can play at right back or at left back who's okay defensively, and then we have 2 who can play only at left back who aren't okay defensively, and none of them are good at going forward. So with the first transfer window disabled, the first 6 months of this save is going to be testing, I think would probably be the best way of putting it. Mahad, I've just delved into a new save. I had the Swiss database down to the 8th, 9th tier. Oh, for the Vaduz save, but have delved a bit further down to FC shots, as Mohamed Tehi Olawale makes it 3-0. A good following up to the save shot. So tell me about FC shots, Mahad. What's like? Do they have anything interesting in terms of their history, or I assume that they must be down in the 8th or 9th tier for you to mention that. Any like cool players that have played there in the past? Any nice quirks? Love to know more. J-Dog, thank you very much for the follow, sir. Can't you try those left backs as wide defender centre if they're good in defence? So the left backs weren't that good in defence, but one of the left backs is one of the centre backs. So Alvin, there's a Manningen puts in a nice little daisy cutter from the edge of the box. So here we go. It's the second phase of a corner. We can see that we've got a pretty balanced setup by Scholand. You kind of feel like Riikonen should have saved that, to be honest. So Alvin here is one of those left backs that I mentioned. The other guy is atrocious. I hope that we don't have to play him, but I strongly doubt we'll get away with that, unfortunately. Wait, so it's the Vaduz save rules, but for a club in an even lower division. Hopefully we'll find out. As Robert, slow down, learn to speak. As Adam Larson heads us 4-0 up, 4-1 up. They play on a 40-degree slope in the Alps, I heard. That would be, okay, right, so, one, obviously that's ridiculous, but it would be quite cool. My granddad comes from a small little village in Wales called Llandersil. And when my grandmother passed away, he eventually moved back there so that he could be with his sisters and retire back in his old little home village. Lovely little place. So we went out a few times to see him there. Apart from the fact that he'd always had a bit of a Welsh accent. That comes with being Welsh. Like a week after he moved to Llandersil, he had gone full Welsh. I could no longer understand a word he said. But when we go out and we visit it, and it's a really, really steep village. It's on the top of a hill. Everything is, no matter where you start, everything feels downhill from there. And it is a steep, steep hill. And there's a rugby club there. And the incline is quite literally observable whilst you're on the pitch, whilst you're like pitch side. You'd watch the games. We could see the rugby pitch from his house. So we go there and like on a Sunday we'd watch the games, and you would see the kickers. If they're kicking uphill, you'd see them kick and it kind of come back. It was incredible stuff. And funny enough, there was a distinct advantage to whoever was going downhill each half. Right, that's a pretty solid first half. We don't expect much competition from these guys. We'll say well done. Let's see. Oh, we don't have Willie on the bench. That's a shame. Let's see who we can give a chance to. Let's see what Yuri Niskanen looks like further up the pitch. I've barely noticed Jaden Reed at all. I really don't think he can play as an attacking midfielder, and I think, personally, that kind of confirms that for me. We'll try Lundberg as the pressing forward, and these are defensive midfielders who aren't particularly encouraging. Was Kerake can tackle and he can head. Silliman can't, so we'll give Kerake a run out in defence as well for our left back / midfielder. And Nordqvist is a 26-year-old goalkeeper who, as the saying goes, those that can do, those that can't teach. He's already a goalkeeping coach, so we need to be mindful that he's probably absolutely pap. So yeah, let's go for that one out there. It's just a relatively small club, says Amhad, that relies a lot on volunteers to keep going and have never been in the top division of Switzerland. That's quite cool. Quite a picturesque place too, so just fancied the save, to be honest. Going to do my best to sign local players, etc. That sounds great. Not such strict, well, you're not going for like a Vidus style save, that's cool. RZ 0.05 XG, 1 goal. Well, look, I mean, you saw the goalkeeping effort. You probably would have scored if you kicked it straight at the keeper, to be fair. My word. Here we go. Salonen. We've definitely had a number of chances we probably should have put away. Biggest question, how's our boy Will getting on? Will is not here, unfortunately. Poor old Willie Nunes. So we had the recommendation before the game of who we wanted to move into which teams. And I just accepted what it was. I trust Daniel Sherland, Liverpool legend Daniel Sherland, to guide us right in these early stages. And he's betrayed me already. Walid, you don't have players' attributes. No, we don't. This is a attributeless skin. Well, it's my attributeless skin. We, instead of having numbers, we do have these icons that represent a range. So they represent a group of 5 attributes. 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, or 16 to 20. So we still have a bit of an idea of what the players are like. And then we'll be focusing on their performance data to understand how they actually play. And that way we might end up finding that certain players who had worse attributes are better. Only just happened. What's the idea behind this tactic? There is no idea, Lewis. We are going pure vibes right now. Now, please bear with me one moment whilst I try and soothe the throat a little bit there. We know that we have a shortage of fullbacks and a shortage of defensive options. We've set up in a 3-2-5, and we're going to start from this point of focusing on our in-possession shape, looking at how players perform in specific areas of the pitch, and we're going to basically just react to what happens in the games and start to refine it towards something a little bit more normal and something appropriate for the talent level of the team. We've got a lot of players who've got pace, and we've got quite a bit of dribbly talent up front, so we're probably going to be building around that idea eventually. But I imagine you will see something far more traditional once we get closer to the season. So where was we? F's for Will, indeed. Willie had to pull out. Willie did have to pull out. Good evening, Shrew, by the way. Does Willie have a second nationality with the Nunes surname? A good question. Remind me after the game. We've already had lots of proof that I'm not very good at remembering things afterwards, so that information is something we probably want to check afterwards. Well, Ed, welcome to the dark side. Exactly, yes. Pure vibe ball indeed. I can't pick players with attributes on, so that's the kind of thing. Is attributes off quite liberating. You're no longer questioning whether you want to go for that player with 11 tackling and 12 marking, or that player with 12 tackling and 11 marking. They all look the same now, and then you can start playing them and you start focusing more on actually who ends up performing for you and why do they end up performing for you, than worrying about those small little niggly 1 or 2 attribute numbers here and there. Let him cook ball, sorry. Indeed. So, I mean, we're not really learning anything from this game. It's, as I said, we didn't know that we had no reserve team when it was set up, but there we go. Playing Ole ball, pure vibes. Yeah, I suppose in many respects it is, but, you know, there are many managers who, when we progress, and once we get used to things and we start to focus in on the defensive side of game, we're probably going to end up with a system that has more focus on our defensive setup than on our attacking setup. We're going to let our players do what they do best, and that's worked out pretty well for Carlo Ancelotti or Martin O'Neill, coaches who go, we'll do the organisation, you guys go out and have fun. I say it worked out pretty well for Martin O'Neill. Sunderland didn't go particularly well, but his time at Leicester was good, eh? And he had some good years at Villa. An optimistic effort from our right back, Nissen, there, playing as a right winger. He's got a pretty good rating considering we haven't really done anything in the second half. None of the other substitutes have. He's got 0.4 XA, which is quite pleasing. And so the thing that I've mainly noticed from this is that in both halves, Nissen there we go. Maybe he could be, he's not very good at any of the attacking stuff, but maybe he's just going to perform well regardless. That's a lovely finish for a guy who's not able to finish. On his weaker foot as well. Granted, it was at the keeper, but a half volley on your left foot is unexpected from our right back. Doesn't work too well with Mbappe. It doesn't currently, that's very true. O'Neill made a career outfit, so must have been somewhat successful indeed. I think so. I mean, with O'Neill, I think there is definitely an element of it had a ceiling. He had an effective approach, and I think that he was never ever going to be able to move up into quite that elite level. But he won cups with Leicester. He took Leicester and Villa to Europe. Some amazing seasons in there. A very good, stubborn manager. Gabe and Victor Flink, thank you very much for the follow, gents. How are you? So yeah, that was not particularly insightful game, but let's talk about the things that we have been able to see from this. After I put that drink. So, 2 players that didn't particularly do anything were Jayden Reed and Oscar Salonen. They were both playing as our attacking midfielders, so if we look at our starting 11. given the number 2 as well. Maybe that's why he's been given a right-back number. Playing behind the strikers and attacking midfielder on support. We don't have any instructions on them yet, but didn't really seem to be involved in any highlights. Salonen did have a shot that goes over. Now he is quite high up. They are there and close support with the front line, which is encouraging, but not really involved. We have a look at passes. So we can see with Reed, he got the ball and build up a few times, but didn't really get involved much in the final third. You would want him to be doing more here. So that's something we need to look at, whether that's going to be one of our first tactical changes. If we look at Salonen, that's a little bit better by being in that kind of half space there. And we are happy with taking the ball there. So I think we might need to look at trying to get ways that player can roam around. Maybe see if Robin Sid, who I thought was quite good and quite involved, can play in that role, and maybe he'll attract the ball a bit more, his movement will be better. So that's my first main takeaway from it. The second one is that defensively, our left back here, left centre back, he can play as a left back or as a centre back, got the lowest rating of our 3. He's the only one who went in for a tackle and he won it, which is quite encouraging. Wasn't involved, didn't make any clearances. Interceptions wise, most of the interceptions came down our right hand side from Reitinen. His interception was high up the pitch, which is cool. So is it aerial challenges that he struggled with? It was. He's got decent jumping reach, but he's not got good heading. And we can see that there. But then Patrick Reitinen didn't do particularly well. Oh, wait a second. Okay, sorry. They both did fine. They won 4 headers and they lost 1. That's not too much of a concern. Most of them there look to have been in the attacking area though. But the ones of all the lost ones are in the... No concern there whatsoever. So is it his passing? 100% pass completion. I don't know why he was the lowest rated. That'll be something that we can keep an eye on. Or whether it's just a case of... it was... No, he'd been subbed off by... Sorry. This is the problem. You get to see me try and think, and I don't think very well at all. So, he was on the pitch when we conceded the goal, and it was from his area, but it was a second phase of a corner, so you can't really assign that to him to blame. We didn't see him make any errors. Maybe he's just been hard done by. So my first thoughts coming off this is that, no, 1 second. We're about to have some ads starting. So rather than the ads start running and people miss what we're going to say, I use this opportunity to take a break myself. I'll get up, stretch my legs, poison my lungs, which is probably why I've got a fever, go to the toilet and so forth. And like an old dad character, I will heartily recommend that you guys stand up, stretch your legs as well. It's always healthy to do so. So I'm going to take the break just as the ads run as well. After that, they run for about 3 minutes over on Twitch. For YouTube, obviously, you don't get the Twitch ads, and I don't have the control over when the ads happen on YouTube, unfortunately. Or if I do, I haven't been able to work it out yet. But when we come back, we're going to do a little quiz. We've got an Only Connect round, and then we'll pop back into things. So, let's see you in about 3-4 minutes. Okay, and we're back. So, for those who were here the last couple of streams, you'll know how this goes, but for those who aren't, let's just take you through what we're about to do. Just a fun little 5-minute bit of light relief to break up the football manageriness of the stream. So for those in England who might be familiar with the game show Only Connect, it's a daytime game show which involves a series of clues that all have some kind of common connection. And we're going to shamelessly rip this off. We're not even going to come up with a fun alternative name to pretend that we aren't ripping them off. I'm going to show you 4 pictures of 4 footballers. Those 4 footballers all have something in common. And that might be that they've all they've all worked under the same manager, or they've all played with one same player. Maybe they've all played for the same team, or it could be something a little bit more obscure, something a bit more abstract. Like yesterday we had players who've switched international allegiances, so they played for one international team and then played for a different international team later in their career. The players will be revealed one at a time. The earlier you guess, the more points you get. As simple as that. Now, the first clue, it's going to probably be very, very difficult to work out the connection because you don't know who the other players are. So you're going to just try and think of things that might be unique about them. Once we... Sorry, let me get my train of thought back there. I do apologise. The players' names aren't going to be on the pictures, so... we work on this communally. If you know who the player is, shout it out in chat so that people who might not recognise them by their face, but they might have heard their name, might stir some thoughts. So here we go, and we'll move on to the first slide. I do have to warn you guys over on YouTube, there does appear to be a little bit more of a delay between the broadcast. From what I could see, there it was about 12 seconds. So you guys are at a little bit of a disadvantage, I'm afraid to say. But I will let you know what people are guessing out, and we're going to see what we've got there. So, what do points mean, asks Johnny Trotter. And RG is completely right. Points mean satisfaction. There are no prizes other than the pride of knowing that you've scored those points. I do need to keep a running tally for this. So, does anyone know who the player is? We've got Barclays man as a guess. People are guessing that they're a Villa player. Have they played for Villa? This player hasn't played for Villa at all, no. So, Emir has come in over on Twitch. He has said that it's Gökhan Torre. It is indeed Gökhan Torre. So, we now have an idea of who the player is. Now, does anyone know enough about Torre to know any information that could be useful here? So, we've got people noticing a Union Jack on the sleeve ending. That would be a very, very abstract link for sure. Baldless or Besiktas players. He is quite bald, and he is a former Besiktas player, so that's fair. So DM Basis says that's Luke Moore. Oh no, it's not. It's not Burnley. It could be he was a Burnley player. That is indeed true. Adam says Chelsea youth players. Chelsea youth players, specifically youth players. You're very, very close, I have to say. I am going to be really specific with this because, one, it's far too early to guess correctly. Boo you. No, not at all. There is something else beyond just being a Chelsea youth player. It's Turkish left-footers who played for Chelsea. It is Turkish left-footers is not the additional step. So next pictures will be Kolo and Yaya Toure. Well, let's go and see what the next pictures are. We have that fella. So next pictures, okay, players with similar names to other players he's going for. Interesting. Born in Germany but played internationally for Turkey. That's a fair point. It's not going to be international based. So yeah, Ryan, it is ex-Chelsea players, but there is something a little bit further than that. Turkish Chelsea youth players who went prematurely bald. That would be a shout, wouldn't it? Part of the 500 players in Chelsea's team. To be fair, he might be. I mean, their squad is so big now that they might have just smuggled in some old players just for the sake of it. So, Hank the Tank has correctly identified that we've got Chris Metham here. So Ryan's gone for non-English Chelsea youth players. Chris MFM is Welsh, so that is quite possible. That is quite possible. Dill says he's cooked because this guy has great hair. He does have great hair, and he still has great hair as well. So it's unfortunately not a case of he lost his hair between this picture being taken. NXKKOO came in with who was it yesterday? Eden Jagrova, didn't you? You scored 3 points on the other game, and you have once again nailed it this time round. We have ex-Chelsea players without a senior team game for Chelsea. So we'll skip forwards here. 2 points was that gentleman. 1 point was that gentleman. And it's Chelsea Academy escapees. All of them didn't make a senior appearance for Chelsea. ACAB Europe got in there as well. Absolutely correct. Dill also says it's a fun idea, Musterman. Thank you very much, Dill. I appreciate it. I was going to say I'd like to take credit for it, but I've just ripped this off from another game show. But there we go. Amazing guessing from Nick. And how am I meant to pronounce your name, NXKKOO? RG was writing it. I mean, I think you can give yourself points if you thought it. There's nobody arbitrating this whole point system. I mean, if you didn't think it and you just want to give yourself some points, do so. That'd be brilliant. So let's see what else we've got there. FM consoles just turned up. You have turned up just for the end of today's Only Connect quiz. But we do have another quiz that will be coming after the next ad break. Now, I do plan that from next week on, they're going to be part of like channel reward points, so that if people want to play, they can then select it, and we can kind of break it up when we feel like we want to, rather than setting it out as specific cuts here. So let's have a look there. Let's pop on to stream main. There we go. Right, now I do apologise. Let me just swing back a little bit, because there will be some chats that happen maybe just before the ad break. So I want to make sure I haven't missed anyone at all. So Andrus, you asked, who are your favourite real life managers currently and why? A very good question. One that I think would actually be really good for chat to get involved with. I mean, who currently are your favourite managers and why? Let's have a look, see what the suggestions out there are. Now, I am, for my sins, and there's nothing particularly groundbreaking about this, but I am a big fan of Pep Guardiola. I love the way that his approach to tiki-taka, which he hates being called tiki-taka, the involvement of the constant circulation of the ball, especially in deep areas, to make players move. Essentially, you're using the ball to move the opposition rather than moving yourself to move the ball. It's that principle of those short passes, so that you can make an opponent shift just like 3 inches to the left, so that when you return the pass, you've now got an open passing lane. I really like the manipulation of the ball, and I think stuff that he does is wonderful. FM Llama is in. Good evening, Mr. Llama. How are you, sir? I am 10 minutes behind, but I am so happy to see you. I hope you stuck around for the quiz, and I haven't, and my inability to acknowledge you hasn't chased you away. Do we have Amadou Sabo available? That is not a name that I saw in the squad. He is not a player coming up. So do let me know. Maybe I've spelt the name wrong, or it's somebody else. But I am not familiar with the name Amadou Sabo, I'm afraid. Johnny, you asked a question before we went away that I said to remind me about. It's Nunes, wasn't it? Let's remember, Willie Nunes. Does he have a second nationality? He doesn't. He is a Finnish lad. We don't know where he was born though, which doesn't help particularly. Nothing there about eligibility in a weird and funky country. He's always been based in Ireland for his career. I mean, it is worth pointing out that Sweden, I think, has quite a lot of like Spanish migration. Like historically, you've got quite a few. I like Spanish sounding names that come through Sweden way. So maybe he's linked somewhere to Sweden there, but that's completely a guess. Charlie MCFC, love using your skin. Is there any way whatsoever to get data to populate before any matches are started? So when you start up a new save, no, there is no, like, you can't get information from previous seasons because those previous seasons weren't played within FM to be able to get that data there. So the only way you can is to play through. But once you're like 6 months into a season, you'll have data and you'll have enough to be able to make judgments on. And I always recommend, once you come to the end of the season, make a save point so you can go back and reference. What other comments have I missed? So what is that formation? This formation is merely the starting point as we get used to seeing what the players do well. It is nothing more than just a frame to begin with, and we're going to start making changes in a second to it now. So I think those were the chats that I missed earlier. Let me just come back down now. So Nico. So Nico, I will try my best to remember that. I am Vass over on YouTube. Our teacher streams what? Oh, right, okay, you're referring to because I do the money book. Okay, sorry, I do apologise. I'm a bit slow tonight. Yep, so I've been streaming over on Twitch for about 6 weeks now. And as promised on a couple of my previous videos, once I got used to it and we'd started a proper career over on streaming, we're now over on YouTube as well. So welcome along. Thank you very much. And I see that I'm guessing that you are also Vass, who has followed on Twitch. So thank you very much, my man. So I apologise late spot. Who was the first fella? So sorry, I did skip past that, didn't I? That's very bad of me. So first we had Gökhan Torre, who was at Chelsea between 2009 to 2011. Chris Metham, who was a part of the Chelsea Academy for 4 years before leaving for Bournemouth and been at Bournemouth ever since. Michael Elise spent 7 years at Chelsea before they let him go, and then he spent time with like every academy that ever existed, and they all rejected him until he eventually turned good. And the same can be said for Declan Rice, who I feel like has been at almost every London academy at some point. But he spent 7 years as a Chelsea trainee. There we go, pop back there. Audrey had answered that for us, so I apologise. As had ACAP, beautiful. Shrew, Jimmy Thielen. Jimmy Thielen, okay. Would you want to expand on that at all, Shrew? Like, what is it? Is it just that he's bringing the glory days back to Aberdeen? Because it has been an incredible journey. ACAB's a big fan of Herzler. Again, yeah, if you fancy expanding, he's certainly doing some exciting stuff with Brighton at the moment. It's nice to see how Brighton have done so well identifying a game model and seeing that through with multiple managers in a row as well. Crudmo is a fan of Jimmy Hogan. Go on, expand. Company, I like how he's doing so far. I assume, is that Bayern Company rather than Burnley Company? Pep with your beard would be a great look. It would be, well, I mean, when I started making videos, I was bald. I got bored of my hair molting everywhere, and I'd shaved off. So maybe one day I'll do it again, and I'll get myself a turtleneck sweater and see if we can do a Pep cosplay. Nagelsmann fan in there. Will Still, because he gives hope to all of us FM players, a very good shout. Wilfred Nancy in the MLS, like. Nancy has had an absolutely brilliant time of things up at Columbus Crew. A great shout there. Like, he became my assistant manager in game at Zaragoza, and like the fact that he was even considering it after being sacked by Crew in game, this has got to be the best assistant manager ever. Great manager. 10 minutes behind is how I live my life. Fair enough. Thank you for your understanding, Llama. Here, I love Total Football, but with more structure, but suck at FM, so I can't translate it to the game. To be fair, so, like, Total Football, especially if you want to try and focus on possession, dominance, and patience without necessarily having the all-out attack elements. It is quite difficult to get right, especially if you don't have the right players. Thanks for checking Willie. It's always important to check Willie, especially at my age. That stereotypical Finnish name, Willie Nunes. Indeed it is. I think the Spanish-sounding names in Sweden are from Chile. That sounds right. That sounds right, Llama. Coming in with the knowledge. The Finnish Guardiola in the making with that tactic. Well, this is exactly it. We've got a 3-2-5 because that's ultimately the in-possession shape that we're going to be looking to achieve during the course of this. So we'll start there and then we'll tailor it back as we're bringing in the defensive elements. Zanko is in. Good evening, Zanko. How are you, sir? Let me do one of these things. How are you, my man? You should all go and follow Coach Zanko if you aren't already. He's doing a save currently with Metalak, a youth-only save, which seems to become, last time I was in there, was certainly looking like a really challenging time at the moment. You've had a bit of a rough run. So has it picked up for you, sir? DM Basis Thilin is awful, and Aberdeen should definitely sack him. Maybe they should sack him, or maybe just let him join Rangers. I'm guessing you might say. Burnley Championship company was not bad. That's fair. That's fair. So let me just kind of go over what my thoughts are after that game. Patu didn't do anything, which is fine because I don't want my defensive midfielder to be noticeable. If I noticed that he was missing things, I'd be worried, so I'm fine on that side of things. Alvanen got a bad rating, and that's something we've got to be wary of. He's not particularly good in the air, so I wonder about potentially dropping him onto a cover role where he can be a little bit more active in the... No, he's slow. He's slow off the mark. He's just rubbish, that's the problem. We're just got to live with the fact that he's rubbish, but maybe we'll try them out because he is a left back. Let's see if he can push into that space. And Reed wasn't involved enough at all in this area, so I want to suggest that we ask him to roam from position to try and get him picking up in those pockets of space a little bit more, which would be quite nice. I was quite happy with what we saw from Sid and with Delson. I do want to see him as an inverted winger though, because I think that is less focused on shooting and a little bit more on creating chances, which appears to be his strong suit. If we pop to Sid here, we see that he's not very good at finishing, but he has got good vision, passing and flair. So we'll just try those couple of changes there. We seem to be a little congested as well. So I want to try us playing a little bit wider and maybe just focusing a bit more down the flanks. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that with the players that we've got and the pace we've got, we want to try and find ways of getting in behind. And so if we end up playing balls out in a little bit more of a direct fashion, it's the wide areas that I want us to approach. And so those are going to be the only changes before we go on, but we need to set up some friendlies. We do have quite a bit of time. This is our starting game. I generally like to have a game of the week before, and then we'll just do it every every 4 days. So let's see, who have we got here? None of these teams, unfortunately, mean much to me. Oh, I've heard of Tampere. Tampere are not even in the second division. What's happened here? Like, yeah, they've won the league only 17 years ago. And then in 2010, they stopped existing. Timper, if you're still in the chat, what's happened to Tampere United? That's I never realised. So something's happened. They weren't involved for 7 years, and now they're down in Division 2, and fortunes aren't. They're not in the ascendancy. That's for sure. That seems like a good choice for a friendly there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just pop through, and I'll mainly focus on teams that are going to have a value associated to them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Musan Salama is a great name. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've already chosen Kappa. Let's go for PK35. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. HJS it will be. And the final one, 1, 2, 3, 4. They won't let me have a friendly on Christmas. I think that seems reasonable. I can't really complain too much about that. So hopefully during these games we're going to just slowly work on seeing how those changes work, and then we'll just bring everyone back into a more sensible position. We'll see what they can do, whether the support structures work. So now I can drop back into the chat. I do apologise there. So not the first spanner in the works, but the Mariehamn thing threw me with the Brentford career. Proper confused. Didn't know he was in Chelsea. Indeed, I didn't know it until this morning myself. I was like, we need to come up with a random connection. I went through and had a look at. Oh, that's not good. We've only been here 2 days, Robin. I was going to build around you. You were the love of my life. When does this contract expire? We have a year. At least it doesn't expire tomorrow or anything. So we are a relative nobody, so I doubt we'll be able to convince them. But let's see. Think about what the club has done for you. No, I can't say that. I don't believe that at all. Am I not able to click on the agent whilst we're in these discussions? Let's see if I can do this from here. So if we look at Sid, then go to information and then go to the agent, they always look to get the very best deal for the client and doesn't hang around if negotiations are dragging on. The client seems like a bit of a arse, so... Oh, what? There you go, that's how to sort out that conversation. Just leave the meeting, come back, and they appear to have changed their mind on the whole situation. Genius. That's what I meant to do. I thought I'd just leave them to stew in there, feel awkward in the room, whilst I go and look up some information. And that's enough to change their mind. So where were we? Sorry. Sure. I'm an Aberdeen fan, so yeah, indeed, yeah, but he's genuinely great. Amazing ability to fit games with half-time changes and subs. Yeah, the last few games especially, his the substitutes have been... It's almost uncanny how effective every single game it seems to be. He makes a sub and that sub then scores, which is crazy. 10% Mark White is living my boyhood dream. There's a shout. Have you always been Orky Wanderers fan? I know. But Johnny Hogan helped to invent all modern football, although his work in Germany, in Hungary and elsewhere. Fair. Oh, it did, but I lost my best player to loser Paul. Oh no, that's awful, coach. Wait a second, no it's not, because how much money did he take for it? Because that's got to be 5 million. 5 million, that's not the worst. I imagine you would have wanted to get more, but with that, you've got to be able to... Because from what I remember, your youth facilities were amazing. You've managed to get them pushed up, but your training facilities are the things that were lagging behind a bit. So maybe with that injection of cash, you can... on to the next level. So let's have a look. Am I being stupid? Did we did just arrange friendlies, right? Yes, we did. I just didn't see any notification to say that they've been accepted. So let us watch. Willie's time will come in the next game for sure. There's a player called Alex Oikonen who has finished Puerto Rican and has caps for Puerto Rico as well. Awesome. Mistake made in Tampere. Oh, you need to tell me more, Maeve. You need to tell me more. Tampere or not Tampere proof. Hey. All they're returned with. Weird player in my home country. Good evening, Sert. How are you, sire? Look, I've got a fondness for the Åland Islands, so it had to be done. And thankfully, everyone came through and voted for the right team. Pro gamer. Yeah, we've got appreciations for the jokes coming in. Persuasion check. Good evening, says the Dutch FM. Good evening. How are you, sire? You will notice that I am a little bit behind the behind the eight ball. I think that's the saying. But here's a shout out for the Dutch FM. Do go check him out. Absolutely incredible creator who, in case you couldn't quite guess, might be a little bit Dutch. So yeah, sorry, where were we? Robin is dancing in the corner of his own. Is Gary Williams sorted whilst you're out? How did you end up with AC Moneyball? So, because I've been doing this YouTube series around using Moneyball methods to find undervalued by the market, I thought it'd be quite a cool idea to do that as a whole team with a creative club in Italy. And I did very badly. So there you go. Everything I say about Moneyball from here on in has now been invalidated. So we'll do something a little bit more traditional and go for a real club that are expected to struggle. And we won't try and make them play tiki-taka football. Great loophole. It's like a haggling technique with Sid. Walk away and they change their mind. I genuinely want another thing to see if it works again. Is it possible to create a DNA in a club and make even the youth play similar style? Yeah, absolutely. So you can tell your youth teams to play the same type of football. If you focus on looking for youth development and the staff to have similar tactical preferences, look at their passing style and their passing style, you look at their favourite formations, you can start to make sure that you're getting the right kinds of players through your youth intakes. You could therefore have the tactics as well following through. So absolutely. Is it me or is it lagging? It was. Right. Oh, yes, indeed, it was. We did drop for a bit. We seem to be back to normal, though, now, from the looks of things. It's when the game load days. Right, okay, we're struggling with the... We'll see how... It is, indeed. It's going all over the place. This is something to... So it seems not even when it's going to the days, but just when it initially comes up, I've just seen that it's dropped down to about 3 frames per second and then come back up. Okay, this is something for us to look at. I did try doing a couple of things with the CPU, which seems to have been unsuccessful, but this is something I will have to address. Right, Shrew, let's count there. Shrew says, goes right back to his first games. We were 1-0 down Airdrie in the cup at half-time. He turned it around. 0-0 at half-time with Dumbarton, won 6-0 with subs. That is crazy. That is absolutely obscene. Right, we're not going to worry about those at the moment. Very strong week, not too important. The language courses we'll always agree with. Potential fine. Staff numbers. We should consider asking the board to allow us to hire a set piece coach. No, we're fine. I don't want a loan manager. Seems like something that the director of football can do as far as I'm concerned. No point having another person just for that whilst we've got no youth players to loan out as it is anyway. Too much being asked from his Ramlol. So it seems to be, I'm pretty certain it's the CPU throttling. I know that Nerdphonic has done a really, really good video on it. I downloaded the thing, I did have a look, and then I went, that's technical. So Pennsylvania Dutch, yeah, made for streams. Sorry, I do apologise as I try to catch up. Dutch, you mean the worst German? Oh my word, it's getting spicy in the comments now. So if you wish, you can even manage your reserve and youth teams and then have control. Yeah, what Johnny has said, absolutely. Armenia, good evening. Have you played any games yet? We have indeed. We've played a solitary friendly against our reserve team, but we have no reserve team. They were all greyed out players. But we're going to be coming up to our friendly against a real team in a second, which will be nice. But we had to get past Christmas first. Crudmo, buy yourself a new PC. Now living all those Twitch advertising dollars. Funny you should say that. every time it looks like the FPS has dropped, and then it comes back up, and then I was going to stop what I'm saying. Let me look at this. Right. Okay, I've just made a couple of little changes in my OBS to see if that hopefully improves things. So yeah, funny you should say that. You will all be, anyone who wants to will be able to see a full disclosure of my my lovely Twitch advertising dollars that I make. A big thing that I am keen on, and especially now that I'm taking subscriptions, and on YouTube you're able to send tips and thanks if you want to. Obviously, I don't want anyone to do anything if they can't afford it, but as I'm in a position where I am now able to do so, I think it's worth pointing out that my potential path for being able to do this full time is very dependent on you guys as an audience, and that means that I want to be transparent with any earnings that I make. So that will be the step that we're going to move to next. Is I'm going to, in my Discord, have a financial transparency page that is going to give that information out, so you know that when I launch a Patreon, for example, that I'm doing it whilst taking home £5 million a week, and that I'm just a greedy bastard. Sorry I'm not very up to date. Where is this other chat you're talking with? You said Twitch, right? It's a Twitch, Andrus. Twitch is a platform dedicated just for streaming. So we've got this stream going to Twitch, and we've got it going to YouTube as well. Armenio, which skin is that? It is the Mustermann skin. Jota has done the honours already. You gentlemen. As has RJ. I apologise if I credited the wrong person first. What do you know about the club? Kamoon Mifk? I'm not familiar with the word Moon Mifk, that's for sure. So what do I know about IFK Mariehamn? So we do cover this at the beginning of the stream. IFK Mariehamn are in their 125th year. They formed in 1919, and they're based on this archipelago just off the mainland of Finland called Åland. Now, Åland is an autonomous region of Finland, so they have their own government. They speak Swedish as their official language. And the main island, the capital is Mariehamn, which is where IFK Mariehamn are based. They haven't been in the top division of football, of Finnish football, until 2005. So it's only been in the last 20 years that they've even been at the top level. They won the league for the first time in 2016, and since then it's all been a little bit downhill. So we're hoping to be able to get them back up to the top, get them winning some trophies, get them into Europe, see where we can take them, and see what happens to the save from there on after. Isn't that more games to play? It is more games to play indeed. Yeah. Merry Christmas in game. Yes, we should have celebrated it. Unfortunately, we didn't. Right. Let's make sure we've got all our lovely players on the bench. Not the guy who's away on loan. And let's make sure we have Willie up front. I personally think that I want Larsson and Nunes as the partnership. Nunes he's only young. He's a 16-year-old lad, so that might be a little unfair to put him in that position. We're going to pop that there. I don't want to see Reed ever again in the central spot. It seems a little bit unfair to react like that after one game, but so Sid there. We'll see Reed out as a winger. The wingers did well in the last game, both Dahlstrom and Nissanen. I would be keen to see Dahlstrom further forward again, just to see if that's something that can be repeated. We've only got a couple of little changes there. We do want to reduce the lines a little bit for compactness, and we do want counter press on. Something that I thought, in fact, I did yesterday, but must have not saved it. I don't know. Weird. So here we go. A game against a team that we know nothing about, but they're not exactly a league team, so we should be fine. Mikko Maninen. Now That's a confident-looking man. Compared to ours, a scary-looking man. And I will push the highlights up to comprehensive now that we're up against a good team. So we're playing in green. Where were we? So, right, yep, thank you. Yep, another good option. See, he looks like a wholesome lad. That's one way of putting it. Let Willie cook. Yes, we need to get the Willie hype going. I'd assume, I do apologise, I'd assume it's pronounced Villa. I'm guessing it's not Willie, but he is now, for the rest of his life, going to be known as Willie. Nice, I actually have been living in Mariehamn. Awesome. Yeah, so I spent time out in Mariehamn. Now, this is like 11 years ago on a working holiday. So I was working with the Emmaus charity out there. And we were sending clothes off to, why can't I remember where? I should really be able to remember. We were basically doing care packages for Africa, whilst also raising awareness of the situation in Western Sahara. It's absolutely amazing place. Really, really loved my time out there. The journey over, catching the ferry from Sweden across, and we've got all the lovely little islands. It was the height of summer as well, so it was like the sun didn't set until 11 p.m. at night. It rose again at like 2 a.m. in the morning. It was just such a like highly fantastical experience. And you've got all these lovely little wooden slatted cottages and like huts, and yeah, it's just a really, really nice place. So do you enjoy it? I have to ask you. You know, you mentioned that you said in Mariehamn. I've said I love the place, but yeah, what do you think of Mariehamn? Willie score, says RG. Well, we'll find out. Willie score. Free Willie. Bet he won't. That's none of my business. None's my business. Thank you very much for the subscription, Max. I hope you're doing well. Really, really appreciated. Yeah, that newness of my business was really bad, Dill, and that makes it the best one so far. Snowfield Xmas Man. Snowfield. It is a Snowfield. It is. That's true. A goal from a set piece. Daniel Sherland is earning his keep. A cross into Olawale at the near post. It looks like the AI is going for the near post exploit. Fine, I don't have to feel guilty for that. HGS is like third division team. Fair enough. Yeah. So hello, can you help me please? I'm using your skin, and when I try to import the player search view, keeps saying view file not valid for current panel. So when you say you try to import the player search view, have you made sure that you're importing the right file? So there are different views that can only be used on different pages within set places. So you'll find that player search and player shortlist needs to be entirely separate views. That would be the first place I'd look. Otherwise, I don't know how I can necessarily help you. That's not an issue I've come across. If you want to head on over to the SI forums and post some photos and screenshots, that might be able to help me to take a look at it this evening when I'm not on the stream. Greetings from Albanian. Greetings, David. How are you, sir? It's called Midsummer. Yes, indeed. Yes. It's crazy. Like so whilst we're out there, and obviously, as I mentioned, we have they're learning and raising awareness for Western Sahara, and we had a few Sahrawians with us, and they are practicing Muslims, and it's in the middle of Ramadan as well that particular year. So they weren't able to break iftar until 11 p.m. They had to get their food in and then sleep as well. I genuinely don't know how they managed to make it through the days. Absolutely incredible stuff. I visited Stockholm once at the end of May and had similar long days. 4 hours of night then. It's crazy, isn't it? And obviously, it's for those that like the summer, it's great during the summer, but you get those exceptionally long winter nights as well as a result. What was your experience of Stockholm like? So when I went to Mariehamn, I passed through Stockholm, flew into Stockholm, and then like spent a day there before going across to get the ferry. And the only thing I can say about Stockholm is every single human being there was stunningly gorgeous. I felt so insecure for the entire day. Shooters gonna shoot. They are indeed. We haven't seen much of Nunes. We need our shooter to be shooting. Yeah, well, it's not that different from other Finland if you exclude the northern parts. It's not that different from Finland, apart from the bits it's different from. Are trees floating in Finland? You're welcome. I'm doing well, but I already feel the void of the international break. Hope you're good as well. I am indeed. I was going to say that I'm starting to feel a bit better from the fever, but my voice is definitely getting quite gravelly at this point. Currently, I think I'm going to sneeze. No, we're good. No, I'm just going to mute in case. We're good. We're good. We're definitely good. Well, when the camera's far up, they do. Indeed. Haha, Gothenburg is the same. It's like if you make it to 21 and aren't a model, then just chuck yourself out. That seems fair. And we've conceded. We've conceded to 3rd Division HJS. Wonder if that's got anything to do with our distinct lack of defence. Okay, we've got away with it. Offside. Fair decision. I am liking these icy pitches. It's not. It doesn't look like snow. It just looks like hard ice. And so let's see. We've got them coming forward once again. Hirvati takes the shot. Not enough power on it. We get the ball clear. There's Nunes. Willie. I just realised I am a 39-year-old man shouting the word Willie on the internet. I need to be careful here. I had 16 hours in Stockholm for a business trip. I had a policeman shout at me in Swedish for crossing the road, not a zebra crossing. Otherwise, very pretty and expensive. That sounds like one hell of an experience, to be fair. Don't get me wrong, I just wanted to correct your mistake. There is no such thing as practicing Muslim. Muslim is a word that describes a person who believes in Islam. Thank you for the correction, Ali. Just how we need a Willie song. We do need a Willie song. There will most definitely be a Willie song. The question is whether it's taking a song already about Willies and just like awkwardly inserting his surname in there, or having something special penned for him. And look, great to see you, by the way, Howie. I'll call you Just rather than by your real name. I don't want to dox you in public. How you doing, my dude? Hey, it was great to see you in Nottingham. I'll stand by what I said. You've got a great future in not only FM but content creation. Bless you, FM streamed. I very much appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. It was lovely to see you there. I don't know how you guys managed to carry on into the evening and wake up the next day. You guys are monsters, and I mean that in the best way. Here we go. There's a chance. It does seem to be quite a lot of HJS so far in this half. We are struggling, understandably. It seems in the area between midfield and attack. They seem to have a lot of the ball there with very little pressure. Nothing unexpected for where we're at this point in pre-season. Kennybody, you're not the first and won't be the last man to be shouting Willie on the internet. That is very, very true. Llama, you Willie, you won't by the Zootons. A fine suggestion. I love it. I love it. You Willie, you won't. So for those that weren't on the stream at that point last night, I want as many player song name suggestions as possible. We want to fill this so that we've got some way of celebrating every player. Let's make these guys legends in IFK Mariehamn. Surviving, bogged down with work projects, but hanging in there. How the devil am I? I'm not too bad. I'm a little bit fevered. But I'm massively enjoying this whole streaming lark. It's quite fun and exciting. You should give it a go. Like, we don't know what's going on with FM25. Skinning's old hat now. Come and join us in the world of content creation. So for those guys that don't know, Just Howie is the creator of the Just skin. You can find it in all the same places that you can find Musterman skin. So you've got it on FM Scout. I believe it's on Sorted Out SI. It's definitely on the SI forums. Absolutely brilliant. Only started last year and just taken to it like a duck out of water. Incredible stuff. What's Willy's full name? It's Willy Nunes. Yes, as guys have mentioned there. Perfect. So we seem to have, without making any changes, we seem to be getting a little bit more in control of the game now, which is nice. Could do with maybe scoring a couple of goals. Let's see that our strikers can actually do anything. Larson missed a lot of chances in the last game. Nunes, he is only a 16-year-old kid, but it would be nice to see him get a goal or two if possible. Like a duck out of water. Yes, like a duck out of water. Don't question it. Don't question it. One thing that you did not mention is they always vote one person to Finn's government, even though there are only 30k people on the island. Yes, indeed. So part of the agreement with the autonomous... well, you've said it. I'm not going to tell a local how it works, but yeah. So the government is autonomous, but they're also they're still part of Finland. It's a little bit different to how it works here over in the UK, where you've got the completely devolved parliaments, where they don't necessarily get as involved in things like we have with Northern Ireland, for example. So to the tune of No Limits to Unlimited. Willy Nunes. We could go for that. That sounds like a plan. I don't have the voice or the face for content creation. I'll stick to the skinning dungeons. That's fair enough. I definitely don't have the voice or face for streaming, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's why I make sure this camera section is relatively small, and I hide things because otherwise I might leave a lot of this audience permanently scarred. So we're not really getting much out of the strikers as far as I can tell. Olawale has been involved again. Again, I don't feel like we've seen much of Reed, so I'm going to look. So who was the other guy that was okay? Ajala. Pop back there. I'm going to look at Dahlstrom in that position once again. We'll look at Batut. Lundberg as a striker can come in. The young lad. Leo Anderson. Right, Leo Anderson isn't good. Leo Anderson is another kid. He can't cross, he can't dribble, he can't finish, he can't move, he's not quick, but he is left-footed. And that's something that we don't have much of at the moment, so it might be just nice to see how he gets on with that. I'm going to look at having him as an attacker, so we really overload the centre with our attacking players and then have these guys out wide, sending in low crosses because none of our guys are tall. Nissanen, we'll pop him in there. Ah yes, Batut I bought on for the wrong player. That's why. That makes a little bit more sense. Salonen now can be the guy who's pushing into that central area there. There we go. Where does this Scandinavian love come from? I mean, come on, Germany is the better Europe. We have the better Donner, the better cities, the better trains, and the better football clubs. A bold claim, ACAB. A bold claim. I mean, Scandinavia is just a really, really beautiful place. I think, like Norway and its like all its trees and its mountains and yeah, I think there's a certain romanticism to Northern Europe that might not necessarily exist for the more central areas. Personally, I'm a massive... Hey, there we go. Leo Anderson. He's shit, but he's managed to do something. Personally, I'm a massive fan of the Czech Republic or Czechia, so I'd put them above Germany, which I think might mean you're about to unsubscribe. Sorry. You can hear them chanting it in the stands. You can indeed. Emir, what do you think about defensive wingers on your tactics? Have you considered it? It may well be something that we look at. We may be looking at defensive wingers. We may be looking at wing backs. All I'm looking at right now is whether the players can contribute and create in those advanced positions. And then, as I said, we'll move them back during the course of these friendlies, and we'll try and see other ways that they can fit in. Daddy cool, Willie cool, Willie cool. It does work indeed. RJ, Reed is underwhelming so far. He is indeed. I have a feeling that Reed is looking like he's not part of our first 11, to be completely frank. Ali says, do you have any future plans for next Moneyball Clinic video? If not, what about Hamburger SV? Bringing them to the place where they should be would be Dilly. Shout out to Willie. Indeed. So we do have a couple of Moneyball Clinic videos already lined up. I like to keep them secret. I think it builds the suspense and tension. But there is going to be a few weeks away. So this week we've got the video on tactical instructions. We're going to be looking at passing directness. And that seems like it's going to be a really short video, right? Because short passing passes short, long passing passes long, right? Nice and simple. But there's going to be a lot more looking at kind of the knock-on effects of that and how that impacts. And then next week we're going to be looking at... next week's going to be a culmination of something that we've done here on Twitch a few weeks back, where we looked at the tactical style of Thomas Tuchel and how that might fit into what he'll do with England. And so there's going to be a video on that, seeing what type of players that he might then be using, what his team might look like in the World Cup, and whether it can be successful. And then the next Moneyball Clinic will be after that. The other things were, just like you explained, they actually secured their place on the highest level in the last round, so it's quite thrilling. Awesome. So there is, somewhere in the corner of the internet, there are pictures of me playing guitar in Karina Altonen's garden. And Karina at the time, so this is going back 10, 11 years, was the Minister for Social Services and the Environment, I believe. Which is quite cool. That's nice to meet. She's now the president of the Emmaus out there. So obviously she had quite an existing relationship with them beforehand, which is evidently why we were invited down, which is lovely woman. And everything I've seen from what the guys do there is awesome. Their approach to homelessness is incredible. It's weird that they have a homelessness charity when they essentially have no homelessness. Something that Finland leads the way on amazingly. Vassal Mars, are we the green ones? We are the green ones indeed. Short passing is short. I know, it's crazy. Long passing is... I suppose I've given away part of the conclusion. I can tell you categorically that shorter passing does result in more short passes, and direct passing results in more forward passes. Crazy to think about. We've done that thing with Tuchel, I remember it indeed. So we had the streams where we looked into it in terms of we tried out a few ideas, we put it together, we then used data to identify players that fit the mould, and then this is going to be that, but for YouTube, and then expanding it further and seeing how it goes on into a full tournament. Question. Favourite team in the Netherlands, Mandarin? Right. Oh, there's the goal, consolation goal. They had one ruled out earlier, but they finally got one back, and they deserve it. So, I'm afraid you're probably not going to appreciate me for saying this, but it's going to be Ajax. You know, the brand of football that's associated with them, the history that comes with it, the legions of great players. They've just always been exciting and wonderful to watch from my perspective. So, does dribble more result in more dribbling? I feel like the myths of the game are being demystified. Maybe. Maybe not. So, was it dribbling? No, I think it was one of the other ones. I haven't actually done the test on dribbling yet, so that's okay. But there are some where the outcomes don't feel like they result in what you expect, but they kind of do if you look a little bit more beneath the surface. But like the passing directness one, I think is going to be really fun. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Ajax is the go-to for any non-Dutch football fan. Exactly. Like that, because of the history, because of the stature of the team, because of Cruyff, because of the style of football they play, they're always going to be the team that stick out. They are a fun, exciting, dynamic team that's got history of bringing through youth. It's just like, there's a lot of things to love there. I'm guessing take less risks means more sideways and backwards passing for a higher percentage chance of success. Exactly. Well, we haven't, that one we'll get to in a while as well, but yeah, like, it's crazy to think that they actually do the things they say. One of the things that I was a little bit surprised of was when I did the first video on width, a lot of people said that they didn't realise that there was a manual. So in case you don't know, if you type in Football Manager Manual into Google, it will take you to the part of the SI website that basically has all the information you need about what things do. Is it 100% accurate? Maybe not. Maybe some of it's a little out of date. But by and large, almost every question you might have will be answered there. Right, we have another ad break coming up. I've just pushed it back, snoozed it, so we should be able to get through this game. But then we'll do the same as before. We will take a break. I will stretch my legs. I'm definitely going to down. I'm definitely going to take as many strepsils as I'm able to without passing out. And then we'll be back for a little quiz. You used to be able to buy a real book for FM to be able to buy the game. Indeed, you did. I missed the days of manuals. Like, some of the most exciting parts of getting a new game was getting this big compendium book that doesn't just tell you about how to play the game, but had all those lovely little Easter eggs and facts and things that just added a little more personality to it. I remember that, like, the Championship Manager manuals were quite thin, but like the Civilization manuals, these big chunky books that go into so much detail, amazing stuff. Muldoon, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're well. Used to love reading a manual on the car ride home from the shop. Exactly. It's like there's a beauty in having that physical thing to look through that is sadly lost, I feel, nowadays. Sounding like a proper grumpy old man today, aren't I? Slurp 808, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing, sir? Crud Mode, Jeff Crammon's Grand Prix. Great manual. Indeed. Now there's a game that doesn't get mentioned enough. Right, into the final 10 minutes. There have been a few chances for HJS. The game has definitely had peaks and troughs, and it feels like those moments that have gone well for HJS have been roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. So I think the main difference there has been shouts. The opposition are doing them, and they're getting their little bit of a bounce at that point. But otherwise, there are things that I think we still need to work on specifically, which is Reed. I don't think that Jaden Reed worked as a winger, and I don't think that Dahlstrom has been as impressive this game out against proper opposition, so I'm not convinced that position is exactly right. I think this is where we start to look at dropping those guys back and potentially moving into something that's going to be more like a traditional 3-4-1-2 shape. So what looked really attacking, and we're now going to start moving it into places where we'll have things looking a bit more secure, and we can start to work better on ball progression. But this was a nice move. We managed to move through the lines quite smoothly there, and almost got an own goal out of it. I mean, Lundberg is another young lad. I think he was 17. He's 6'3". He can jump, but he can't head. He can't run. He can't finish. I think he might have had good anticipation though. So catching your live stream for the first time. Wish you a lovely stream. Thank you very much, Slurp. But this is we've just started a new save. We started it yesterday. The AC Moneyball series that we've been doing for the previous 6 weeks finally came to an end. That was kind of like the exploratory save. So that was my chance to learn what I'm doing with streaming, get a little bit more comfortable with it. and now we're ready to do things properly. It was meant to be doing things properly for FM25, but we've got a nice big gap that we've still got plenty of time to do so for FM24. Paradox, sorry to change the subject, but how do you got those stats up at the bottom by the players' names? That was something I was playing around with. It's not really something I can very easily explain on stream, but you want to edit the match player bar widget. You want to then look through a file called match stat properties. You want to find the IDs and you want to align them within the part of the widget that has the shirt. And you will probably spend about 2 hours dealing with changing things margin by 1 or 2 pixels, and not be quite happy with it by the end of the whole thing. At least you will if that's my experience. Giving chances to be expected with that tactic. Exactly. As I said, at the moment, the focus is on the attacking shape, and then we just pare it back. You're going to be explaining about play-by-mail next. That'll blow their minds. Play-by-mail, indeed. I'll leave that to Crodmo. He's my resident old man in here. If you show the list of free agents, I can give some hints to the players you could find useful. That's wonderful, Jano. Thank you. We have the first transfer window disabled, and we are going to be relying on our scouts to find us players. Part of the way that we do the Moneyball approach is we're going to only deal with players who've been scouted, and we're going to apply performance data to find our targets. But I love the idea and the enthusiasm, so thank you. There we go. So the next and that is timed absolutely to a T. I've been told that the ad starts in 15 seconds. As I said, we'll be going on a break. We'll come back. We'll do a little quiz. I'll hopefully catch up with chat with that, and then we'll make some last few little tweaks to the tactic, and that might be where we come to with the evening. So I will see you in about 3, maybe 4 minutes. And we're back. I hope you all enjoyed the little break there. So, let's just catch up a little bit on chat there. I do apologise that I've missed some of you and I'm a little bit slow there. Muldoon, thank you very much for popping by. I'm doing well. As you can see, I'm a little bit behind on things, but we are getting there. Glad to see that you've downloaded the skin, and I hope that you have a great time with it. As I say, it does take a little bit of getting used to, but yeah, I really hope that you enjoy it. And 1860 Munich, any particular reason you chose that team? El Norby over on YouTube, thank you for thinking about our toilet needs. Not a lot of streamers think about our bladder. Now, ultimately, and I know, again, this is very, very old man stuff here. I do apologise, but if I'm at work, I look to make sure that I take a rest from the screen pretty much every hour. It's not good for your eyes. It's not good for your back sitting there in front of it all day long. I want to make sure that, you know, I look after my health whilst I'm at work, and it's exactly the same thing when it comes to streaming. I want to make sure that I'm looking after my health. I want to make sure that I will prompt people like a sage old father, rather than not wanting to be patronising. Is that, you know, let's take that moment and let's not find ourselves slumping all day if we can avoid it. RG, you lost me at you go into the file. Indeed, it's not really an easy thing to be able to explain over on stream, but especially if you don't have any experience with skinning whatsoever, it's probably going to be impossible. Crodmo, all-time great F1 game. I played a play-by-mail football manager game. I was shit at it. Mandarin, we've already got a guest coming in early from Mandarin. He's gone for Andy Carroll, the Bordeaux legend. So yeah, let's explain how this game works. It's kind of very similar. It's going to be a picture-based game. We've got a player's profile from FM24, but I've broken it up. I've enlarged some things, and I've split it into small little clues along the way. You're going to start by seeing what positions this player plays. Then you're going to see their attribute polygon, I believe is what the game calls it. And then you'll see their scout report, and you'll see their actual attributes and traits. And last but not least, you'll see the clubs that they've played for. Each clue will give you more information about that player, and the goal is to try and guess it as early as possible. Pretty straightforward thing, so might as well go straight into it. And again, start throwing out ideas out there. Don't hold back. We have a wide centre back here, a 3.5 star wide centre back. Good right foot, not too bad left foot either. He is generally quite solid across the board. So someone that you're looking at probably an okay ball player, but not so good a ball player that he's not considered to be a no-nonsense centre back. So we've got Gary Pallister coming in. Crodmo has taken up the mantle of guessing retired players, and I love it. Mandarin Met Van Dijk. Van Dijk is a decent guess. I would probably guess that he'd have a higher rating for his positions. We've got Gary Doherty. There's a throwback as well. John Stones from RG. Stuart Dickens has gone for Alderweireld. Now that's a nice guess. I like the suggestion of Alderweireld. Unfortunately, we're not quite there on any of them yet. In comes with Sean Teal. Now that man has a moustache. What a moustache that Sean Teal had. Let's move on to the next clue. There we go. Get it to work. So this is his attribute profile. Whoever this wide centre-back is, he is slow. He is quite embarrassingly slow. Good in the air, good mentals. Generally speaking, a reasonable all-round player. You don't expect him to have much. You don't expect any centre-back to have much of an impact in the attacking point of the game. And so we've got El Norby coming in suggesting Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is indeed slow. He is probably about a 3.5 star player. I think that's a good guess. It's not Harry Maguire. Shrunaldo has also come in with Slabhead. That's a really, really good shout. But no, unfortunately not Pepe. Pepe, says Adam. It isn't Pepe, but I mean, I see where you're going with that. Pepe is an old man, and therefore he's quite slow. Big Michael Kegger. Are you going for Michael Keane there? It isn't Michael Keane, I can tell you that. So, Schlurp and Muldoon, I will get back to you guys in a couple of moments. Well, once we've got this game done, If I miss you, if I miss coming back to you, please remind me. So we've got Otamendi, as we mentioned, Lewis Dunk. They are all good shouts, but we're not quite there. It's not Eric Dyer either. A great suggestion. We have a little bit more information though. They play in the Portuguese league. A 3.5-star player, a leader amongst men, consistent. Cody Tarkovsky, we've got guesses coming in from the previous bit, that's understandable. Hilda Cristoval. Coates, says Adam. Coates, could it be? It's not Coates. I'm afraid I'm playing you a bit there. That was unfortunate. Jerry St. Juice, says Mandarin. I think was it Jerry St. Juice who was that highlight of where he like sprinted 50 yards to make the goal line clearance. I have a feeling that this player is a little bit too slow to be Jerry St. Juice, but a lovely, lovely thought. We have a winner. We have a winner. And it's not going to be Quadmo because he's guessing retired players. FM console coming in big. With Jose Fonte. It is the... Interestingly, Jose Fonte, who is currently at Braga, the former West Ham, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Benfica, Lille defender, also has a nice big gap in his career because FM doesn't deal very well with teams that no longer exist. And obviously his spell in China at Dalian means that he's just got a gap. He's played 7 games, scoring 0 goals for an invisible team. So a big, big congratulations there to FM Console. 3 points go your way. We still don't have anything for those 3 points other than the pride of getting them, but you most definitely deserve them. I do have a prize for you. I don't like saying that it's a prize. As I say those words out loud, that's not the intention. I would have shouted you out earlier if I'd remembered to, but I'm still getting a bit rubbish on this whole etiquette thing. So I'll do it now instead, and I'll claim that it's the prize for guessing things right. Bruno Alves was a great shout as well. This was a difficult one. It was a difficult one. So I think what I hope we can do with these is that we can try and balance it out. We're going to get some relatively easy ones. We're going to get some hard ones. We're still at 3 points. We haven't got down to the last clue on any of these yet. So we can definitely get harder. Don't take that out of context. I've spent all evening shouting Willie. Maybe I don't want to say that too loud. Oops. So yeah, what I'm thinking here, based off what we saw in the last game, is that we might end up going for something a little bit more traditional here. We'll pop these guys back and we'll pop them as really attacking players. So I want Reed to push forwards. I want whoever's going to be our right winger to essentially be a winger, but they're going to defend in this space. That's the ultimate push there. I thought Sid was okay, but I preferred Sid when he was out on the left wing. I thought he played really well as an inside forward. I've said that I want to see him as inverted winger as well, so we'll see him as that in the next game. And I haven't been particularly impressed by the strike partnership so far. So I think we look at actually not a 3-4-1-2, but we look at a 3-4-2-1. And that can give potentially one last chance to Jaden Reed, as probably have him as an inverted winger support. So he can attack there, he can cut inside, and we can have our wing backs to provide the width. Or we could potentially look at having him stay wider. That's what we're going to do. This is what happens when I think out loud. We'll pop him on stay wider, so he holds the width, but he's going to cut inside with the ball. So we don't need to worry about our lack of a left back that I think is particularly good, because we can potentially look at playing a midfielder here who will just invert. That will allow us to have this guy attack the space, so we'll have him drift in there and then could maybe have Dahlstrom running beyond him. Can a Volante hit the channels? Volante can hit the channels. Beautiful. So this might seem a little bit dumb, But again, remember, we're going to be changing, we're going to be trying out different things in every single game. I want to see what it's like having Dahlstrom out at left wing back. Have him as an inverted wing back with take more risks. We want him to run things from midfield, not trigger press more often, but also pass more direct. I basically want to say, ping it long, let us have fast players running forwards and flooding things, because we're not going to dominate the game with possession. We're not a particularly good team in that respect. Going to also try the wide centre back on this side, potentially on support, because we have Machado here, who is okay at passing. And so I imagine for Finland, that makes him one of the best distributors in the league. Reisner isn't quite as good in that respect, so he can then be the guy who anchors in the middle. So thinking of something a little bit like this, maybe Fonsell can be a ball winner, and we will have a little bit more support there. Do prefer the idea of Larson as a pressing forwards. I'm actually going to drop the lines. Press more when they come into this area. So we're a little bit passive, but I want us to try and have that compactness. And I think that we're going to look to focus, still do that, and just play a little bit more direct. So those are going to be the changes. Trying to just see how that runs, and we might completely abandon this. We'll see how it goes. So where are we? Only had plays in Portugal as a clue. Indeed, I did have a feeling that once we get to clue number 3, that and you reveal the league, it does help quite a bit. Weren't we in Portugal too yesterday? No, we were in Portugal on Monday, weren't we? It was Pedro Gonçalves. That's so the way I pick these players is I load up a save I have for the Moneyball Clinic series that has all the leagues loaded, and I go to the leagues in focus page. I click on the little selectory thing. Sorry, why am I explaining? I click on here, and then I do this with my eyes closed, and then when the team comes up, I do the same. So unfortunately, it's very unscientific. Maybe I need to think about which teams we've had in the past and do it properly. So yeah, France was yesterday. Out of context, Musterman, a new YouTube series. We don't need out of context. We don't need historical evidence of things I've said. We can definitely get harder. Yep, okay, the quotes are there. So yep, you asked a question in an inconvenient moment. Let me remind you. 5 goals out of 9 goals my team has conceded are from corners. Do you have any suggestions? Are they all the same type of goals that you're conceding from corners? Are they attacking your near post? Are they attacking your far post? Have you got a specific weakness there? Main thing would be is to try and close that off. See if you can find common threads in it. Now, it might be that if you've got player marking, there's a mismatch. One of your players that is marking is quite weak, and that's the player that they're targeting. You might need to look at changing around what responsibilities you have. A good way of dealing with teams targeting specific areas to have a bit more zonal marking in there. You can use things like mark the post and mark those zones so that you can have a lot of bodies to kind of crowd out those areas. Could even be as simple as bringing one extra player back from the attacking positions. Maybe you're finding it's the second phases you're struggling in, so an extra player that's lurking outside the area might be in a position to close down when the ball is cleared and the opposition get the ball back again. And thank you for the reminder, because that means I also then need to go back and catch, I believe Muldoon sent another message as well. So Muldoon, yeah, I wanted a long-term save to see me through to FM25, with the aim of being able to topple Bayern. I have seen the club suggested on a few YouTube save ideas when searching. It seems like a great idea. I think that sounds like a great plan. And I think this is one of the liberating things about the FM25 delays. It's a nice long delay for us to get stuck into a proper meaty save as well. Segundo Volante is one of my favourite roles. So I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Segundo Volante. I've got to admit, I find they give the ball away an obscene amount, regardless of how good they are. If you have a defensive midfielder on support with dribbles more or gets further forward, I find that they can do the same job that Segundo Volante on support does, but without being as wasteful on the ball. But I can't find a way to get a player in that anyone else to do what Segundo Volante on attack does, which is a bit of a shame. All right, got to Dips. Thank you so much for being here, Mandarin. Really appreciate it. And Carl asks, hey, first of all, thank you for everything you're doing. It's hard for me to convert, but I'm enjoying it, your Moneyball series. Do you have something that can explain what I need to look for each position? So, as I mentioned in the Moneyball series, no. I don't believe that there should be a thing that you're looking for in each position. It's all about what you want to do as a tactic. So, football is very holistic. What you want from a wing-back in a 3-4-3 that's going to be direct and look to be attacking the flanks is going to be very different from what you want from a complete wing-back in a 4-2-4 that's going to be possession-based, for example. And even though you're using the exact same role, you're going to be expecting different things from the players. And those players might even be having to compensate for weaknesses elsewhere in the team. So the specific metrics you want to look for are adaptive to your needs. What I would suggest doing is look at what you expect the player to do in the 3 phases of play. So in possession, when you're on the ball, what do you expect that player to be doing? Are they meant to be attacking the box? Are they meant to be scoring goals? Are they meant to be holding the width? Are they meant to be protecting your defensive line? Are they meant to be connecting different parts of the field together? What do you expect them to do when you're not in possession? Are they players that are meant to be closing down? Are they meant to be funneling play to a specific area? Are they meant to be staying back and cutting out passing lanes? Are they meant to be winning headers? There are specific things that you're going to want from your tactic that will answer those questions, and you're going to then start using those to inform you of what metrics you're looking for. And then in transition, you've got to think about where they are in possession, and also think about what they're going to do out of possession and how they're going to move between those. If you've got a wing back that is pushing really, really forwards, but you also expect them to be very active defensively, then you're going to need to be looking at things like high intensity sprints and distance covered to see that they've got the stamina to fulfill that role. So yeah, there isn't, unfortunately, a single answer that I can give you. So Moeen, yo, thank you very much for the follow. Good evening. So I think that's what we're going to work with for the next game and see how things go from there. And we've already come to the end of the calendar year. How about that? Actually, do you know what? Doing some thinking. Thinking is always it's always a bad sign when I'm doing thinking, isn't it? What I think we should do is actually call it quits here for the evening. I was going to aim for about 9:30, and I unfortunately do have quite a lot of editing to do. I have a feeling that for this video that's coming out on Friday, I'm going to be up quite late the next couple of evenings after the streams, so I should probably push ahead with that. But what I would say is, that gives me a chance also to look at what's going on with the CPU, so that when we're having these issues with the stream lagging a little bit, so rather than carry on through the next series where it's next series of Press and Continue where it's going to do that, let's accept defeat for now. We're going to head on over. For those on Twitch, we're going to go and raid someone. Those on YouTube, obviously that's not something that I'm able to do. I don't think that is a feature that comes with let's pop there, let's say hello. So whilst I try and work out all the lovely elements of YouTube. So yesterday I just left the stream going for ages because I didn't realise I had to press end stream in a special place. So I do apologise for that. For those that jumped in whilst the stream was over and just saw the whirling circle of confusion. So thank you very much for being here. I'm going to be back again tomorrow evening. So same time, 7 PM GMT. We'll be carrying on. Hopefully we'll have fixed the issue with the CPU so that we won't have so much with changing. And as we get through pre-season, we'll stop watching the games in quite so much detail because we'll start to have a more firm idea of what we're doing. So hopefully we'll be able to get towards an actual proper competitive game in the League Cup there. So for the guys over in YouTube, I'm going to end the stream now first. And then for the guys over on Twitch, we're going to work out who we raid. So YouTube, thank you very much.